News Radio 97.7 and 1290 AM, WTKS.
My choice of drug is caffeine. And have it every morning with our coffee. But this South Carolina teen had a lot of it. Dr. James is going to talk with us about these risks and hidden sources of how the stimulant led to the South Carolina teen's death. Dr. James, good morning.
Good morning.
What happened to this kid?
Well, unfortunately, he had several different types of caffeinated beverages, and he probably went into some sort of arrhythmia, whether it be ventricular tachycardia or VFib, and it's a really unfortunate situation. I think this is a great topic to discuss because millions of Americans consume quite a bit of caffeine daily, and it's important to understand how much caffeine is in coffee or an energy drink or some of these other beverages so that you can understand how you can protect yourself and your children from caffeine overdose.
We're talking with Dr. James. The young man's name was Davis Allen Kripe, I believe. He collapsed and died last month, and Richland County Coroner Gary Watts told a news conference, said that he had too much to drink, and I said he'd had something like an energy drink, a Mountain Dew, and something else, Doctor, but it was all within about an hour or 2 hour period.
Right, and those energy drinks, a lot of times they either don't have the amount of caffeine on the label, or they play a little game and say, less than 2 cups of coffee, the amount of caffeine in the energy drink, and it's only in half the serving. So when you really read the label in detail, a full serving has, it can have 350, 400 milligrams of caffeine in it, and that is your absolute maximum that the FDA recommends per day.
Dr. James, what can we do to warn our kids? I think you'd had a can of Red Bull as well or something like that. What can we do to warn our kids about something like this? I've seen energy drinks that do not have caffeine.
Yeah, they do have some that don't have caffeine, but I think it's just an awareness of caffeine in general. Our children should not be drinking caffeinated beverages. I know there's a lot of marketing out there and a lot of TV propaganda and media surrounding different energy drinks and sodas. What they really need to avoid them and drink water. I know it's boring, but water is so important for growing adolescents. You can do things to spice it up. You can create fruit, put fruit in a canister and put some water in there and let it kind of marinate, and that gives it a nice little fruity kick. You can squeeze fresh lemon in your water, which is actually great for your renal system, your kidneys. So there's a lot of ways to kind of spice up water, but we really need to understand that caffeine is for adults, and even for adults, I don't recommend more than 2 cups of coffee a day, and at that, it should really be black coffee.
Oh. Dr. James, medical expert with Diamond Physicians, talking about the kid in South Carolina who died after having too much caffeine and hidden sources of caffeine. Now, I've heard chocolate has caffeine, but is it really enough to worry about, and what are some other hidden sources?
Yeah, chocolate has a little bit of caffeine in it, but I don't think it's you have to eat a lot of chocolate, and you probably feel pretty bad and feel pretty sick before you got to that rate of caffeine overdose. And what we're talking about when we talk about overdose, we're talking about 5 to 10 grams usually. And caffeine is typically measured in milligrams, and then there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. Now, it also depends on your body habitus, your age, and the health of your cardiovascular system. But other foods that have caffeine in them, anything that comes from a coffee bean. I've heard of people taking these caffeine pills, like no-dose, to stay awake and study. So that's something that we also haven't touched on yet. It's very important that we eliminate those no-dose caffeine pills in our children. That's a real easy way for you to get too much caffeine in your system.
If somebody thinks they've had too much caffeine and other stimulants, what would they be feeling that should send them to the hospital?
Typically, you're going to have jitteriness. You can be nauseated, dizzy. You can have heart palpitations, and if you're having heart palpitations, I think that's a pretty critical sign. And you should seek medical attention immediately.
All right. Dr. James, thanks for the information. I hope that the kids pay more attention to something like this than parents.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. James Pinckney just goes by Dr. James, and you can find him at diamondphysicians.com. diamondphysicians.com.